All right, all right. Sorry about that. I should have definitely corrected my chair beforehand. It is good to be back. I'm so sorry about the bit of a delay there. It's been a busy couple of weeks. My current day job has been kind of ramping back up for the season, and so I've been helping get things set up. I've been helping get training new people. I've been kind of getting back into the flow of things. But nonetheless, I have also been working on the RPG a bit outside of streams, as I tend to do. So, yep, back to the journals here. I have been working on backgrounds primarily over the last couple of weeks, and so I wanted to kind of do a bit of a deep dive through where I've come from and what the current direction of backgrounds are for the RPG. So yeah. Excuse me there. All right. So I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day today, and so yeah, let's go ahead and just kind of jump into where we've been before as far as design language for building backgrounds and building character concepts and character pieces for the Underkeeper RPG. So one of the things that has remained consistent throughout every different phase of design for the game is the concept of origins. And generally speaking, origin is kind of a catch-all term for your ancestry and your background. For Underkeeper, your ancestry is going to be from a large list that is right here. So that would be Alder Elf, Dhampir, Doppelganger, Dwarf and Half-Dwarf, Elf and Half-Elf, Faun, Goblin and Hobgoblin, Golem, Halfling, Harpy, Human and Demi-Human, Jotun and Giantkin, Kindred, Orc and Half-Orc, Revenant, Seraph, Somnix, Tiefling, Undyne, and Wyrmsfang. So those are the current ancestries that we plan to offer with the core rule book. But the second part of the origin is the background. And so if you think of this in 5e terms, this is your race and, well, your background. Backgrounds in 5e are a pretty good analog for this first iteration of them, in that they are functionally a mechanical feature, a couple of skill proficiencies, a couple of tool proficiencies, and that sort of thing. Let's see here. I'll just read through the original character origins blurb here that I had written up for, once again, previous iterations of the RPG. The world of Underkeeper is populated by people. People drive the stories, create the conflicts, and ascend to become legends. The world of your campaign is filled with colorful characters from every walk of life, typically in some cosmopolitan mix. Your character is one of these people. They are seeking to further their ambitions and leave their mark upon the world. When creating your character's origin, you're choosing what, if anything, makes them unique from the other denizens of the world around them. A character's origin is composed of two parts: their ancestry and their background. Excuse me. Sometimes referred to as a character's race or species, your ancestry serves as a part of your character's outward appearance in the world, as well as dictating some of the unique biological quirks that come with their fantastical nature. On the other side of the equation is your character's background, a representation of who your character is or was when they decided to start adventuring. Your background gives you access to additional proficiencies, languages, equipment, and talents that help tell the story of where your character came from. And so as a part of this, I went ahead and I split up all of the backgrounds that I wanted to support into three areas: heritage backgrounds, lineage backgrounds, and occupation backgrounds. Heritage backgrounds are backgrounds and abilities that come from a character's upbringing and cultural touchstones. Lineage backgrounds and abilities that come from a character's ancestral lineage and connection to powerful beings and creatures. And occupation backgrounds, as probably you expect, backgrounds and abilities that come from a character's career training before becoming an adventurer. So, since we are currently in the oldest iteration of these documents here, let's go ahead and jump into the character background components. Once again, a lot of this is going to translate over into new design, but also we're going to kind of be tackling it piecemeal because this is the old design. So just kind of keep it in your mind, take it with a grain of salt, that this information here has already been kind of thrown out or deprecated in its current state. So, the description of each background includes traits that are common between individuals in their respective communities. Following entries appear among the traits of most ancestries. Ability score increase. If you're familiar with 5e, usually this comes with your ancestry. For all intents and purposes, while that is fine, it kind of does lead to a bit of stereotyping. So I've just shifted them to backgrounds, as I believe they did for the 2024 revision, so for 5.5. In short, this does work basically the same way here. You get bonuses to your abilities based on your background. And then each ability score increase comes with two options: a quick build, offering kind of your default ability scores to improve, as well as a variant option where you choose your own ability scores to increase. With both of these methods, you can't increase a character's ability score above 20 using this feature. Origin hit points. Your character gains bonus hit points from their background, reflecting the hardiness and endurance impressed upon them by their background and way of life prior to adventuring. These dice are rolled to determine these hit points and are not added to your character's pool of hit dice. A little bit of this language is going to be cleaned up here and there, just to, continue to flesh out these paragraphs. Tool and skill proficiencies. A character's proficiency in a skill represents their repeated research, practice, and training in that area of expertise. Your character's background provides tool and skill options that are traditionally associated with the trades and practices of your background. Languages. Based on your character's history, travels, affluence, and the like, they are able to learn to be conversational in several languages. The number of languages you know is typically calculated using your intellect modifier with a minimum of one language understood. Equipment. When your character goes forth to adventure, the equipment section of their background determines what they take with them from their old life. And then here was kind of the piece that I was most interested in kind of exploring and building upon for this first iteration of backgrounds for the RPG, and that would be progression abilities. So your character's background, here I'll just read the blurb here and then kind of continue on from there. Your character's background typically includes a novice ability and an adept ability, allowing for characters to further develop their skills from before their adventuring days, as well as new opportunities to reflect their backstory. Novice ability. Similar to their equipment, a first-level character setting out on adventures takes with them their time spent among their background community. These skills are reflected in your character's novice ability. Think of this in 5e terms as a feat at first level. But this feat is just kind of tied to the nature of your background. Your adept ability. This is something that GMs can use and can skew off of. As the wheels of time turn and characters make their journeys throughout the world, they build upon the foundations of their home, can work to realize goals and hone their craft in new and interesting ways based on their adventures. When your character reaches level 10, so automatically at level 10, or upon completion of a significant background-related feat at the Game Master's discretion. So once again, it automatically happens at level 10, but your Game Master, depending on your narrative course throughout the game, your Game Master can award this ability earlier. Your character gains their adaptability. So we're going to kind of be going into a lot of this kind of language just to start to talk about it. So as I had mentioned, I had split these up into heritage, lineage, and occupation backgrounds. This distinction will no longer exist in the updated version of backgrounds that I have devised, but once again, the whole purpose of this stream is to kind of give a background into where I have come from, where the game is going now, and kind of meeting those two things in the middle and designing from those points. Heritage backgrounds. I did not get many things written down in that section. Lineage backgrounds. So these here are the backgrounds that are based on characters' bloodlines, whether or not if you're descended from someone, etc., etc. So here, this will be a good one to start with. The background, beacon. The path of a beacon is not an easy one, for you're often drawn to the darkest corners of the world where your light is needed the most. Born with an innate connection to the forces of Promethean light and radiance, you are a guiding spark in the face of adversity, a symbol of hope and a source of inspiration for all who seek your counsel. Whether you were chosen by fate, blessed by celestial beings, or forged through extraordinary circumstances, you have embraced your role as a harbinger of light. Your touch can bring solace and restoration to those who have been battered by the trials of life, and through your words and actions, you inspire others to rise above their fears and darkness. Quick buildability score increase, charisma by 2, wisdom by 1, variant increase 1 by 2, and indifferent by 1, or 3 by 1. Origin hit points, 2d8 or 9 hit points. So kind of going on the origin hit points feature here. The whole concept of the origin being your ancestry and your background, that was kind of my way of introducing the way to play as a level 0 character. So this is kind of before you get your class level, you would have different features based on where you were. So a beacon here would get 2d8 hit points to start with, and so this would be your peasants. So 9 hit points. That's a little bit stronger than the kind of classic peasant from a D&D 5e, but at the same time, this can be skewed higher or lower depending on the background. I'm pretty sure like the soldier has a 2d10 hit points, so you're going to have slightly higher for a more militant background, whereas like I believe a mage of the lights or something of that nature had like 2d4. So just more hit points for kind of more hardier backgrounds, more options for character histories. And also, origin hit points tend to give a little bit more of a buffer to players and characters at level 1, so that it's a little bit harder for monsters to instantly take a character out. Which is good because as the current and core design of the game works, we're using chart-based hit mechanics, and so your attacks will always land and deal an amount of damage. So it creates this sort of race to the finish mechanic where you're just trying to out-damage your opponent, and so in order to allow for players to compete against potentially waves of enemies, we wanted them to have at least a little bit more of a hit point buffer. Skill and tool proficiencies, so you choose 4 skill and tool proficiencies from this list shown. This is 100% changing. with our new design, but it is representative of similar design to 5e, which this game does descend from. Language options here. You can speak, read, and write common in a number of languages equal to your intellect or wisdom modifier, minimum of 1 of your choice. We're going to keep a similar clause like that with our current backgrounds, though that's going to be a part of our culture feature, which we're going to get to in a second. Kit selection. This is actually borrowing a lot from Draw Steel design, where you have different kind of loadouts of character equipment. As shown here, we didn't get super far in that design, so it just says, when you select a kit from your class's list, you can choose option 1 or option 2 instead of the options presented by the class. So you could get additional options to what your class gives. And then personal equipment. So this is going to be primarily narrative-focused equipment here. An occult tome containing esoteric knowledge and basic information about rituals and spellcraft of lore. A hooded lantern, an unfamiliar color-changing gemstone, a set of common clothes, and a pouch containing 1d10 plus your wisdom or intellect modifier of gold pieces. And so then here are our progression abilities. Novice ability, Illuminating Presence. You can cast the cantrip Dancing Lights, and you gain dark vision to a range of 60 feet. So just, that's kind of playing on the whole beacon aspect of it. You can create lights, and you can see into darkness. So that would just be a sort of similar narrative feature that a background would give. And once again, remember, we are building past this. We have a new system. Beyond this, I'm just kind of going through this for legacy purposes and documentation. Adept ability. So this is something that you would get at level 10 or upon completion of a significant thing related to your background or your character's narrative arc. Seer of the Beyond. You have peered beyond the natural veil, and it has left you changed. You gain True Sight at a range of 20 feet and can cast the spell Speak with Dead. Once you cast this spell, you can't cast it again until you complete a short or long rest. You can also cast Speak with Dead using any spell slots you have or by expending 1 point of willpower. So once again, it's a slightly more minor feature, but it is representative of the culmination of your character's journey. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of scroll through some of the other backgrounds that I have here. Some of them are more complete than others. Some of them are going to be translated over rather similarly. Some of them are going to be translated over drastically differently, and some of them will not be translated over at all. If you saw my scroll wheel on the side here, there are 30 pages of lineage backgrounds. And so once again, this is one of the reasons why I am kind of cutting this off. 1, because it is a page count sync, and 2, because I think I could do justice to the idea of a character background better using a more customizable approach. But yeah, then we've got Beast-Hearted here, which is kind of your character is connected to animals, wildlife, and the like there. Champion of the Plains, City Dweller, Cloudwalker, Extremophile, Fae Forsaken, Fireforged, Fury of the Shores, Graver, Heart of the Shire, a kind of classic Hobbit style background, Hexed, Mistborn, Nomad, Planewalker, Savage Soul, Stonehearted, Swampmonger, Thunder of the Mountain, Timbermarked, Underguardian, Veiled. I've still got some going here. Then I had ideas for doing like fiendish lineages here, where you are bloodline of Beelzebub, the Lord of Flies, that sort of thing. And so I had several here for all of the different kind of archdemons and devils. And then also I had bloodlines for all of these different cities throughout the hells and such. And I was planning to do this for all of the manifolds of the campaign setting, and including them in the core rulebook. This was not a wise decision. I can't stress this enough. This was not a wise decision. It was ambitious, and it would have been good, but it was not wise. Just because there is so much to cover here, there is so much lore, that it would just kind of all be running together, and you would have to test everything against each other for balance purposes. It was completely impractical, especially as this is a solo design project. And once again, this is just lineage backgrounds. I was wanting to do something similar for heritage backgrounds and for occupation backgrounds. And if this screams scope creep to you, you win. It was. It just was. I think at a time there was 100+ different backgrounds that I was working on actively trying to create unique narrative features to give at early levels and at later levels. And honestly, it was one of the things that kind of burned me out on the game and kind of had me put it aside for a little bit to continue working on other things. Alright. Then if we jump over to occupation backgrounds, oh boy, it's another 30 pages in Google Docs here. So we've got the Acolyte here, in which we have, lots of text. We've got the Alchemist, the Archivist, the Assassin, the Bounty Hunter, the Bruiser, the Caregiver, the Collector, the Companion, the Dancer, the Defender, the Entertainer, the Far Traveler, the Gambler, the Gladiator, the Healer, the Hunter, the Inquisitor, the Mage of the Lights. This would be your kind of Magic the Gathering style Black Mage, Blue Mage, Green Mage, Red Mage, and White Mage. And yes, it is exactly as complicated as you think it is. The Merchant, the Pirate, the Ravager, the Rebel, the Sailor, the Soldier, the Spy, the Thespian, the Thief. Let's see here. I'm probably missing some. Oh, there's the Wayfarer and the Zealot. So those were the kind of occupation backgrounds. And the thing that I learned in doing this, once again, scope creep. It's a lot. This is going to eat up a ton of page count. This is going to be hard to balance. This is going to be hard to test. This is going to be hard for people to build off of as far as homebrewing for this game. And so I just kind of put it aside and stopped working on it. Because, once again, it was just a lot. It was too much. So, recently I've kind of gone back to thinking about backgrounds and working on them in that sort of manner. And a lot of this came because one of my friends ran the Old Gods of Appalachia, one of the one-shots for the Old Gods of Appalachia tabletop RPG for me and a group of friends on a Sunday night. And one of the things that I really liked about this system was the idea of the character sentence. And just kind of reading through the book, writing a character, and coming up with their lore on the spot, but in a way that was guided and completely choice driven. And so, like, there were multiple steps to where you could kind of define and identify yourself with your character and kind of figure out how this character would play differently because of who they were. And I thought that that was very good game design. Now, when we actually played the one-shot, most of the people at the table, GM included, while we all had a good time, we weren't huge fans of the actual execution of the Cypher system. However, in talking with, once again, the other players at the table, we all liked the character creation process. And so that was something that I was like, hey, maybe I could do my backgrounds in a similar way to that, because right now it was just pick a lineage and occupation or a heritage, and that's it. It's a one choice thing. You just slap, I am a tiefling soldier, and that's it. And for like creating NPCs on the fly, that is on the easier side. But once again, that's creating NPCs. That's creating commoners, that's creating villagers, that's creating level 0 characters. Which, once again, while I want this game to, include that sort of rules, that sort of mechanics, it does not give way to, your heroic fantasy archetype, this fantastical heroic adventure, the campaign of, there is a power fantasy to it where you are leveling up, where you are gaining new abilities, where you are becoming much more than what you were at the start of the adventure. And so, sure, you're a tiefling soldier. That makes you the same as every other tiefling soldier in the world. And once again, I feel like we could do better than that. We could do something a little bit more characterful, something a little bit more definitive, something that, builds the identity of the character up more. And so once again, I return to the idea of the cipher system. So for my character here, I played a guy named Ephraim Harlow Warren. But that's, just his long given name. Everyone called him Ep. He was a brash speaker who does what needs doing. Brash being the descriptor that gives me, man, it's been a second since I created this character, but basically gave me different bonuses and skills based on, kind of talking fast, being a little bit more on the front lines, a little bit more impulsive. Speaker being the archetype, being someone who's good at selling themselves, good at, it gave me my special abilities here. Encouragement. I could spend an intellect point to, give an inspiring oration to give advantages to my allies, to fast talk someone to kind of get them to leave our investigations of the mysteries alone. Gave me additional skills as I was a skilled talker, and the ability is to spin my identity and kind of shift from one place to another to another. And then the kind of verb in this case here, the focus, does what needs doing, is a bit more of a, what do you do? Do you do kind of hard labor? Are you, what are you working for? What is your character working for? And so, like I've seen the cipher system kind of a little bit knocked down as just characters that are, you're always just an adjective, noun, who, verbs. But as far as, building and creating a character, it was a flavorful experience that gave me a very good idea of who this character is, enough so that I wrote, a full page of stories and narrative background for him. Once again, for a one-shot, just because I liked the idea of the character. I was like, I can see how this guy exists in the world. I have an idea of where he's coming from, what he's doing, and what his story is, and I'm excited to see what the next chapter of that is in the game that we play. And so I wrote that all up. Yeah. And so, in looking towards, revitalizing, fixing, rebuilding the idea of a background for my game, I was like, well, let's keep the character sentence. because that's a great identifying point about a character. It tells a lot about who they are, where they come from, what they do. So I came up with the answer of character name is a characteristic position from culture, where your characteristic is describing kind of who they are, what they do, similar to the cipher system idea of the descriptor. So brash. So Epps Warren is a brash speaker. Speaker being his type, that would be in my game what I would call a position. This is what would be filling a similar role as the occupation background in my previous drafts. Who, focus, verb. He does what needs doing. It's harsh, it's rough. He's rough around the edges, he's got dirt under his fingernails, and he's going to do what needs doing no matter the cost. Position, not position here, culture. So character name is a characteristic position from culture. The culture is going to be a narrative-focused feature that tells where you came from. Your culture is, were you raised among halflings? Did you come from a group of sky traders and wandering nomads from Gaeth Daish, the elemental plane of air? Are you from the Fey realm? Are you from a Fey court or a noble house or something of that sort? What about if you're just kind of from the prime material plane? What would it be like if you're from, I don't know, maybe just a merchant's guild or a mercenary company? What if you were from, sorry, I need examples here off the top of my head. From a community in the mountains or from the city of progress. And so I've kind of come up with a bunch of these descriptors by going through dictionaries, thesauruses, games all over. So I've got a ton of stuff kind of right over here off to the side of me. Unfortunately, my camera isn't quite picking it up, but I've got a whole stack of RPGs that I have snagged from my shelf that I've been just looking at every adjective, noun, and like location in. And I'm trying to figure out what works in my setting, what works in my game, and what I can do the most with narratively and mechanically. And I've basically doubled my number of used pages in this notebook because, once again, I was kind of trying to interrogate every idea and get it down to something that is manageable, maintainable, and publishable within the core rulebook. So let's kind of go ahead and start getting back to what we usually do here, and that is going to be adapting, building, and showing what comes forward from previous versions of the character document. So if I roll over to my backgrounds here, yeah, here is a great example of what I was doing for this backgrounds here. I don't think all of these are exactly what it is going to be here, but I used one of my characters, one of my favorite characters from Baldur's Gate 3. I used Karlach. Karlach is a renegade soldier from the Hells. She's renegade because she's turned her back on Zariel and is kind of going out fighting her own way. She's a soldier. She fought on the front lines of many fiendish battles in Zariel's army. She's from the Hells. That tells you where she's been. It kind of tells you a lot about her. Once again, this is not everything that character is, but it tells a lot more about who they are than just saying that they are a tiefling soldier. She's a tiefling renegade soldier from the Hells. And each one of those points influences different aspects of her background. And that's what's important here. Okay. So, what are the different characteristics that I wrote up here that find my lists. Yeah, that version will work here. All right, so what are different things that your character can be? What are your adjectives for this system? Brash. It's a great one. We have caring, charming, civic, creative, cruel, cultured, devout, dishonorable. We have graceful, gregarious. We have hardy. We have haunted. We have honorable. We have industrious. This is kind of just a list here. I know I'm just kind of rambling off a lot of words, but bear with me for a sec. Okay. We have inquisitive, mad, meddlesome, prepared, rebellious, risk-taking, scholarly, seasoned, skeptical, and zealous. So these here are going to be our characteristic adjectives. So what do these do? In short, these are what they're going to be giving us our skill proficiencies in the background construction. So let's go ahead and kind of do, since we're on the whole creating lists bit of things here, let's go ahead and take a look at the different positions I have said and plan to have make the final cut here. All right, so positions. We have Acolyte. We have the Alchemist's Apprentice. We have the Aristocrat. We have Artisan. We have Beggar. We have Criminal. We have Far Traveler. We have Gambler. Gladiator. Guard. Healer. Hunter. Investigator. Laborer. We have a Mage's Apprentice. I've got a Mariner. Merchant. Performer. Scholar. And Soldier. Now, it is possible that I might change some of these words here to synonyms. So, as it stands right now, I am kind of realizing in the moment that you could have a scholarly scholar or something like that. Especially also with positions like you could have, what's the most artistic one? Yeah, you could have a creative artisan from an artisan's guild or something like that, where it's using the same word twice, and so it's a weird, boring, and kind of lumpy sentence. And so I'm going to be easing that language so that way it doesn't quite, have the repetition here. And then as far as the cultures and locations, I did not get these alphabetized, so we're going to be doing that live. A land, ice and snow. From the people by the sea. From a port city. From the sand-swept dunes. From the haunted wood. From a farming village. From a community in the mountains. From... Sorry, give me 1 second here. An island. What did I say there? An island nation. And a similar one there. A seafaring consortium. So this would be kind of what you would choose if you wanted to be a kind of pirate character. From the City of Progress. From a criminal enterprise. From a thieves guild. Thieves Guild, there we go. A nomadic tribe. From an artisans guild. From an order of knights. From a laborers' union. From a mercenary company. From a band of outlaws. From a monastic order. And from a band of entertainers. All right, so these are kind of going to be our core cultures that we're going to have in the RPG here. But you might be asking, when I was talking about my example here with Karlach, what about the Hells? What if I want my character to have a defining characteristic being something from another manifold, another plane of existence, something of that sort? Well, don't worry, because well, there are 20 here to kind of give a wide range of options for the prime material plane. I was going to include 3 more of these cultures based on the different planes in the included campaign setting. So if you're coming from Deavos, if you're coming into the Feywild here, you can have a character who is just from the Feywilds. You can have them be from F-Bay, Court, or Hollow, or from the land the ancients roam. If you're going for Oris or Gaeth Daish, or the plane of elemental air, you can be from the Wind Traders' caravans. You can be from a celestial sanctum, or you can be from the Smokelands. If you're coming from the elemental plane of fire, you can be from the cities of hell. You can be from the infernal wastes, or from the abyssal borderlands. I haven't gotten all of the locations here specified with each of their respective cultures. But like if you're going for the Shattered Seas themselves, the Maria Astra, you can be from an Ulithic hive. You can be from the Lands Forgotten. You can be from the City of Doors, or the City of Bridges, or Gates, or Gaps, or something along the line. I'm trying to figure out a good way to put that in narratively, but if you're familiar with like Planescape lore, think Sigil. I would like there to be a Sigil analog somewhere on the Mar, where you can just kind of access all of these different realities as this one giant nexus point between all of these different manifolds and such. But yeah, that is that. So I know I've kind of thrown a lot out there with both my old design and kind of the new design. But are there any questions or anything that you want to kind of interrogate further? Maybe something I didn't quite consider. I am open to it. All right. So, from here, let's go ahead and head back to our original backgrounds page here, because a lot of this is going to be staying similar. So if we go to our background section here, I'm going to just kind of press enter a few times, and then we can start putting in kind of the standard text. Okay, so this is going to be a header number 2. Character backgrounds. What did we do here for ancestries? Okay, so we probably will eventually put in some more introductory text there, but I guess all right. So all right, so from before, we have the description of each background includes traits that are common between individuals and their respective communities. Following entries will appear among traits of most ancestries. There we go. Actually, let's have another heading here called building a background. Then this will be under the heading background features. points of most backgrounds. Alright, so ability score increase. Your character gains bonuses to their ability scores based on their background. Each ability score comes with two options. A quick build, offering default ability scores to improve, as well as a variant option where you can choose your own ability scores to increase. Yes. With both of these methods, you can't increase a character's ability score above 20 using this feature. Yes. Oh, hang on. Should we tie this to the ability score maximum? Now, if we're creating a character at level 1, our ability score maximum is going to increase by 1 for 2 ability scores that are tied to our class. And that would be from the ability score focused mechanic. We're creating this at a character level of 0. Our ability score maximum is across the board 20. So above your ability score maximum, I think that could work here, just since it gives us a little bit more room to play with. Above your ability score maximum. Yep. Using this feature. Alright. Origin hit points. Your character gains bonus hit points from their background. Background does not need to be capitalized here either. Reflecting the hardiness and endurance pressed upon them by prior to adventuring. Yes. Yeah, okay, these can come over basically as is. Each score. Okay. Feature comes with 2 options. Sorry, I'm just kind of going through here, making sure that this reads standard. A quick build offering, reflecting friends among other members of the profession, as well as a variant option where you can choose your own ability scores to increase. All right. With both these methods, you can't increase a character's ability score. Yep. Your character gains bonus hit points. Gains, not bonus, because that makes it seem like it's non-standard or special. Gains additional hit points from their background, reflecting the hardiness and endurance impressed upon them by their environment and way of life prior to adventuring. The dice roll. These dice are rolled to determine these hit points. Oh no, hang on. Oh no, this was right. The dice rolled to determine these hit points are not added to your character's pool of hit dice. That is right. That is the right way to put it. I was just reading it wrong. Alright. Tool and skill proficiencies. Character's proficiency in a skill represents their repeated research, practice, and training in that area of expertise. Your character's background provides tool and skill options that are traditionally associated with the trades and practices of your position. Languages. Based on your character's history, travel, affluence, and the like, they're able to learn to be conversational in several. Yep, that can come over as is. All right. So, equipment. When your character goes forth to adventure, equipment section of their background determines what they take with them from their old life. So I'm going to kind of change this to be kits and equipment because it gives additional kit options and then also narrative features, narrative equipment that you are going to automatically have. Okay, so this is not alphabetized. Okay, kits and equipment. They may gain additional kit options reflecting their past, reflecting their upbringing, as well as additional equipment. Common to common among the people, common among their trade. Yeah. All right, and then finally, progression abilities. Your character's background typically includes a novice ability and an adept ability, allowing for characters to further develop their skills from before their adventuring days, as well as new opportunities to reflect their backstory. Okay, yes, we're going to keep this, but we are going to tweak some of the language just a little bit. Alright, so progression abilities. Your character's background. That typically includes a novice ability. You don't need to include typically, they all will contain this. Includes a novice ability and an adept ability, allowing for characters to further develop their skills from before their adventuring days, as well as new opportunities to reflect their backstory throughout their quest. Novice ability. Similar to their equipment, a first level character setting out on adventures takes with them their time spent among their background community. Time spent in their chosen profession among their background community. These skills are reflected in your character's novice ability, skills, and traits. Adaptability. As the wheels of time turn and characters make their journeys through the world. So we can get rid of a little bit of this here. As characters make their journey throughout the world, they build upon the foundations of their home, can work to realize goals, and hone their craft in new and interesting ways based on their adventures. When your character reaches 10th level, or upon the completion of a significant background-related feat, the Game Master's discretion, your character gains their Adept ability. There we go. That is better text. We do not need the types of backgrounds here because we're not going to be breaking up our backgrounds based upon arbitrary guidelines of heritage, lineage, and occupation, of which one of the other reasons that I kind of shifted away from that was heritage and lineage are pretty synonymous. They're pretty closely related, especially in the fantasy genre. So we're cutting that. Building a background. A character's background is comprised of 3 core parts. A characteristic that describes them and their approaches to challenges, their position and station. No, their position in their home community, and the culture they were raised in. Sure, I guess so. Consists of 3 core parts: characteristic that describes them and their approach to challenges, their position in their home community, and culture they were raised in. Yes. Yeah, I think that is pretty decent there. Similarly, I should also note a lot of these different attributes here are going to give probably small blurbs of text that have like role-playing tips, like what does it mean to play a character who is brash, or what if you're trying to play a character who is smarter than you are, so like how can you role-play that. Just different write-ups in that same sort of vein. And a lot of that is just going to be showing up as sidebars and such in the core text. Yeah. Hang on, let me take a quick look at my recording and such here. Make sure everything is going well. Yep, that seems good. Where are we at? We're back now. Okay. Honestly, I think I might call the stream a little bit on the earlier side tonight. Just so that like maybe I can put this all on a table or something. But I've kind of been talking through a lot of the background and the history of the game, and so probably tomorrow, either tomorrow or Friday, I'll be jumping back on here and like we'll be writing a lot of the core text for the backgrounds. We'll be writing a lot of the like actual mechanics, but I want to do a little bit of prep work for that, so that way it's not just me going like, well, is a mariner more navigation or survival focused, or actually that's probably a bad example, because I would argue navigation first over in that specific dichotomy. But like trying to figure out what different characteristics should give different skills, what different positions should give different abilities, etc., etc. I feel like that would become kind of boring and unwatchable just if you were watching me do it kind of live here. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for watching. It's good to be back, and I hope that you guys are all having a fantastic day. I will see you in the next one. Take care.